This is the second of a two-part video series covering Crisis Response Leader Training's CRLT Simulation the Incident. In this demonstration, we will highlight how to get started with the training platform to include a use case for a business client concerned about public safety. Participants input a unique username, which helps with data analysis and compliance checks. You can access pre-sim references to review national policies and best practices. In this example, we reviewed the I Love You Guys protocols for a lockdown, something very appropriate for a workforce. The user then takes a pre-test to track their initial understanding of the principles associated with a lockdown. The next recommended step is to get familiar with the controls used in the sim, while also reinforcing the principles mentioned within the lockdown protocol. Our sim has a teacher and employee awareness module designed to reinforce this concept in a short 20-minute lesson plan that reaffirms the tested material from the pre-test. All scenarios begin with reminding the user of what their training objectives are, as well as helpful reminders on how to use the easy-to-use key and mouse controls. In this short scenario, individuals should become familiar with the style of the sim, while visually reinforcing basic safety principles. Within the I Love You Guys Foundation's lockdown protocols, understanding the priorities of locks, lights, and out of sight are important, as they are the key reminders of the priorities that have to be accomplished immediately to increase everyone's safety. Our intent is to blend learning management, reapplying the testing questions, into a more visually stimulating experience, but still at an easy-to-accomplish level for all employees. The data from the testing is still information that can be retrieved and analyzed if desired. Transitioning to slightly more complex policies, but still with limited training time available, we suggest checking many of the other modules that help orient on specific stages of an incident. What do you do if you are a security guard and you encounter an armed suspect? What if there are wounded nearby? What if the suspect surrenders to you and law enforcement has not yet arrived on the scene? In this example, we went into the Casualty Collection Point module. This module forces teams to start communicating on issues related to a violent incident, a possibility of continued violence on the property, and the priorities of work, i.e., stop the killing followed by stop the dying. This module can also help talk about important task organization concepts, roles and responsibilities, pre-staging of medical supplies, and the delicate balance of security compared to patient ground evacuation to save as many lives as possible in a limited amount of time. Often, lessons that are learned by individuals and teams in these more advanced modules are linked to the requirements for greater situational awareness, inter-team and interagency communication, as well as required tactical skill sets linked to trauma care and ground evacuation. As an example in this scenario, a participant may realize that individuals already inside of the hot zone can provide immediate life support to the injured, but only if they have received training like Stop the Bleed and have readily available medical supplies. Pre-staging mass casualty bags near locations often identified as likely points of injury could save precious minutes for children and coworkers that need to be immediately stabilized until they can get to surgical care. By the end of a few modular lesson plans, the user should start to understand the dynamic requirement for leadership decision-making. The challenges become increasingly complex even after the violence has been stopped. Security staff and leaders will especially appreciate the need to figure out how they will integrate and support arriving first responders. Now we are ready to validate portions of our safety plan. The sim supports full-scale tabletop exercises for both single and multiple participants. In this example, we are a front desk staff member at a business location. We can select the AI's ability to successfully survive an incident using either run, hide, fight, or a lockdown protocol. We can also change the proximity of the threat to potential victims and the time of day. These variations can increase the complexity of training while remaining statistically accurate. Two things become obvious to me as the participant in this exercise. First, why didn't I have an early warning of potential violence beyond the atrium's main entrance? Second, why did most of the customers and staff run toward the doors in front of the check-in desk and then run past the atrium? These are things that I want to review later, as what happens in the first few moments of an incident are where I may be able to do something to alter the outcome of any violent incident. Advisor tips are available to help me in considering critical tasks. We have built in a Google Maps Live traffic update system, along with our fully integrated and automated dispatching capabilities. Responding assets will arrive on the scene based on how long it would really take them to get there. Then, they must work with the available information they have received from 911 calls. More than likely, a law enforcement officer's first concern will be, where exactly is the suspect? Is the violence ongoing? What is the suspect's description? And how should I approach the property, and where should I make initial entry? As a supervisor at the business, I must determine how and when I integrate with the first responders. I have critical information they may need to know, like where they can access a floor plan, how many customers and staff are on the premises, where the designated rally points are, and any special considerations, like we have defibrillators at certain locations but no chest seals or coagulating agents, or we have a daycare with children in it. It's on the south side of the building, and they're unprotected. Once training is completed, some data points are shown to help in the after-action review process. I would then load the automatically recorded replay of the exercise to look at a few key things like the need for early warning and directional flow for a run, hide, fight situation, especially considering that the atrium is open and there is no location that supports a lockdown for all of our staff and customers. I would also want to think more on our security camera situation. We have 20, but they are all oriented on the access points, and none of them are oriented on the parking lot. Additionally, the CCTV is not monitored and is used primarily for after-hours deterrence and investigative evidence. This needs to be reviewed in my plan. I also want to think about the problem I noticed where civilians rallied in the parking lot right where I needed to get my fire and rescue EMTs staged. This added 30 seconds to the time it took to get them to the wounded. I used the camera to check out alternate rally points to adjust my plan. The back of the building seems logical, but I now know I need better directional control and perhaps a screening of shrubs and trees, perhaps even a concrete wall that provides some protection. I may even want to think about constructing pavilions in the back area in case of inclement weather. Reviewing and understanding some of my vulnerabilities while reinforcing the principles of the lockdown helped me, especially in the post-test where I scored higher and should remember a key lesson learned. I am then able to assess my vulnerabilities and share that information with my leadership so that we can look for trends, focus on priorities to evolve our plan, and continue the cycle of incident management training.